Okay, lesson 30. If it is correct, you have received a PDF file of this booklet titled Atma Vidya, or Subtle Anatomy. This is the anatomy of yoga. If you've done a teacher training course elsewhere, either in Korea or Europe, India, States, United States, you found that the curriculum for a large part exists out of physical anatomy. And when you do an exam at the end of the course, the emphasis lies very much on memorizing all the physical aspects. The truth is, yoga has no physical anatomy. Strange, huh? Because, just like with Oriental medicine, you exist in the first place. The foundation of your whole being is energy. And if the energy is not good, the rest follows. Your physical body is not good. If there is disharmony or a blockage in the energy circulation, it will eventually end up in physical symptoms. You become sick. But the disease, the symptoms of the disease, is the last step. And the final step is death. So, when you feel discomfort, do not ignore it, pay attention to it, because it's a signal. It starts very subtle, so subtle that people don't notice it. But if we continue to ignore it, it will simply escalate. The signal becomes louder and louder, stronger and stronger. First, in terms of discomfort. If we continue to ignore it, it eventually leads to physical disease. Now, of course, it is good to learn something about the physical body. It's good to learn how the body works and what have you. But the point is, with yoga, as well as with Oriental medicine, if you want to treat disease, do not treat the symptom. Start with the origin, which is always in energy. So yoga anatomy is not about muscles, joints, and bones. It's about energy. So throughout the course we talked a lot about energy, from lesson 1. Today we look a little bit at the symbolical model of the human being. It will clarify a lot, I hope. You know, in most cultures, we speak of spirit. Huh? And in most cultures, when a person dies, there is the belief that after the physical death, the spirit rises up from the body. It's no different in yoga. According to yoga, Buddhism, Hinduism, you have a continuous cycle of birth and rebirth. Physical body dies, but you continue to evolve. Your spirit continues to evolve. What you have learned in this life, you bring with you in your next life. And so you evolve. And if you look at society, you can indeed see that people are on different levels of evolution. So the basis of a human being is that spirit. Spirit, soul, and it is eternal and it is indivisible. In Sanskrit, it's called avyakta. No, Purusha. If you read the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, there's a lot of talk about Purusha. Many serious yoga books talk about Purusha. In the end, your essence lies there. But also, in modern society, we talk a lot about the disconnect. Disconnect with nature, disconnect with the purpose of life, disconnect with the soul, with our true nature, our true characteristics. So Purusha is our blueprint. That is like the universe before the Big Bang. Pure energy. No manifestation yet, whatsoever. So it's invisible, it is untouchable, you can't smell, hear, taste. It's pure intelligence, but you cannot detect it, at least not with the gross senses. But like after the Big Bang, energy condenses. In Holy Scriptures, we call that the downfall. Like Adam and Eve fell from paradise. There is a condensation of energy that leads to manifestation. So that condensation continues. And the next product, manifestation, is called avyakta. Purusha is soul, but not manifested. The next level after avyakta is what we call self, with a capital S, Atman. Avyakta is the unmanifested self. Now this is very interesting. I asked Ajita, please explain what is avyakta, what is unmanifested self. And he said, I can't answer that. The concept of avyakta is so vague. I've asked my masters, and nobody honestly has an answer to that. Unmanifested self. The blueprint is there, but it hasn't taken any shape yet. It starts taking shape in Atman. Atman is the self with a capital S. Why with a capital S? Because it is the expression of the characteristics that are imprinted in the blueprint. And Atman is also a concept that is very often mentioned in real yoga books, in the book of Patanjali, but all yoga books. It's about human nature. Atman. There's a very interesting anecdote about Atman. You know that Buddhism originates in India, but it is not prevalent anymore as it used to be. And this is an anecdote, whether true or not, I don't know, but it's an interesting story anyway. Like Jesus Christ, Buddha had an issue with the academics, they call it the Pandits. Pandits are the guys that study the books and claim to be omniscient, knowing everything. So I believe Jesus Christ kicked them out of the temple one day, had a conflict with them. Buddha, in this anecdote, was visited one day by some Pandits, and they challenged him. They said, "We hear that you are telling people about Atman. So explain to us what is Atman." And he appears to have said, "Anatta, anatta, anatta. No Atman, no Atman, no Atman." And they declared him a fraud. And with that, the Buddhist monks traveled over the Himalayas and they ended up in China, where they invented Kung Fu. Kung Fu is originally not Chinese, although this is not related to the story, but it is kind of. Why did Buddha say anatta, anatta, anatta? Appearing to deny Atman, while Atman is essential in understanding human being. That is because Atman, you want to know, how do I find my real self with a capital S, as I call it all the time? And my answer should be, here you have your cushion, close your eyes. Because Atman, like the previous two concepts, is so subtle, you have to feel it. Nobody can tell you what your real self is, what your true characteristics are. It is something that you connect with in silence. So maybe Buddha was a bit rude, simply saying anatta, 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 but it led to a huge misunderstanding, as a result of which a large part of Buddhism disappeared from India. But it is difficult to explain. You have to connect with it in silence. Yes?
I think I can offer a bit of clarity here.
Thank you.
Anatta means the rejection of a permanent, unchanging self.
Okay.
Like it exists, but it's constantly evolving and changing.
Okay.
And that's the disagreement between Brahmanism and Buddhism. That's because Brahmanism believes in a permanent, unchanging self.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. So still, there's no manifestation in physical parts, physically. Anatta is still energy that is starting to manifest, starting to take shape, now in the form of certain characteristics. Here it was still unmanifested self. Here start to manifest. Within Atman, we have something that you're already a bit familiar with, although we have called it different. It's Karana Sharira. Karana Sharira is in fact the crown chakra. It's the location of intuition, wisdom, vision, unconditional love. So here it really starts to take shape. Within Karana Sharira, there is Sukshma. Yeah, Sukshma. Sukshma Sharira. Sharira means body. Spiritual body, crown chakra. Sukshma Sharira is the mental body. So that is Ajna chakra. Technically, it is within the boundaries of your physical body, because Ajna chakra is in and around the head, approximately 60 centimeters in diameter. So technically inside the body, but in yoga philosophy or subtle anatomy, it's not considered within the body yet. Because that is the next layer. Which is Sthula. Sthula Sharira. That is the physical body, which includes the 5 chakras from the throat to the tailbone. This is a model of a human being. So when you look at the mirror, what you see is very limited to what you really are, compared to what you really are. But the purpose of this model is very interesting. You can continue endlessly. Here you have the throat chakra, then you have the heart chakra, then you have Manipura, Svadhisthana, Muladhara. But where does it stop? You can continue drawing it down. In the same way, you can continue drawing it out. If you contemplate, there is no end to this. Try to see it this way. Your body exists out of millions of cells, atoms, billions even, right? Each of those atoms are a world in their own. Your being is part of a population in this world of a number of billion of people. You can see that population in the same way as your body, as existing out of billions of elements. And that extends into the universe. Our solar system is an organism that is part of an organism. That is then again part of another organism. So the solar system is part of a galaxy. The galaxy is part of the universe, or a cluster of galaxies, and then part of the universe. Where does it stop? That universe could be part of a gigantic universe beyond that. Just a small, tiny part of a gigantic universe beyond that, which then again could be part of another, even bigger. You understand what I'm trying to say? And the same way when you go down into the microcosmos, where does it end? We don't know, because we don't have the technology yet to make it visible. Now we can see atoms with technical appliances, with modern technology. And we have a pretty good idea about the universe. But what's beyond that and what is below, we don't know yet. But it is constantly evolving. You have, these days, you have nanotechnology. That's technology, is building technique or technology without being able to even see it. So small. So it's mind-boggling. So the purpose of this is that you kind of contemplate on what life is about and what we are about, what you are about. And will probably lead to a sense of humility, but also of unity. Because we're all in the same boat. We're brothers and sisters out of the same matter. It's only because of ego that we make distinction. You are a Dutch farmer and you are a Russian communist and you are whatever. We make our distinctions based on very gross perception. But in the end, we all come from the same source. From the same energy, from the same intelligence. It's a little bit simple, but there is a video on YouTube. It's called The Power of 10. It visualizes a little bit what we did here. There's a couple in a park somewhere, and they zoom away from that couple. Each time by the power of 10. So they move into the universe. And then they go back, and then they move. They focus in on the hand of one of the people in that park, and then they go inside the structure of the human being by the power of 10. Then when you see that, what you see in the macrocosmos, the structure, and eventually what you see in the microcosmos, the structure, DNA, is rather similar. Look it up and have a look at that video. I will, if I can find it again, I will share it on it's on the Facebook group that we have. I shared it many times before. If you scroll down, you will also come across it. Powers of 10. Yes?
Actually, we call it like this universe is kind of, fractional, right? So because, when we zoom in each, like if we specifically we zoom in some other, like some science, for example, music or chemistry or physics. So we will reach to some like certain point that there is some like correlation between the science as well, right? So that's why like we call it, this universe is fractional, and like if you look into some for example, some religion like Buddhism, they have like some shape. We call it like mandal set, right? Mandal we call it. So that is also, there are like some like spherical shape, and whatever like you zoom inside that shape, again there is like similar things. So I don't know like why they prefer that kind of shape, like spherical shape, like they call it like mandala. So what is the specific reason of that shape? So do you know something about it?
No, what I know about mandalas is that to create them is a form of meditation, but also to sit in front of them and contemplate the what do you call it? The logic of the shapes and the patterns.
Yeah,
geometry.
Yes, thank you. Geometry, that seems to elevate the spirit. It's the same with Persian carpets. Ajita always used to make jokes about Persian carpets, that we wipe our feet on them. Well, their purpose is spiritual. Persian carpets are not supposed to be put on the floor, they're supposed to be put on the wall, and you contemplate the geometry in the carpet. The universe, if you look at it without understanding what you're looking at, seems to be just a gathering of heavenly bodies and structures where there is no geometry, where there is no logic. But if you contemplate the universe, you will realize that there is a very fine-tuned balance in the universe that allows it to exist. And the moment that the balance is lost, it leads to chaos and destruction. And in that same vein also, try to realize what a privilege it is to have manifested in the form that we are in on the planet Earth. Because that is an incredible miracle that is only possible because of a super finely tuned balance. A balance of temperature. There is a certain bandwidth between which life is possible that is almost non-existent in the rest of the universe, but exists on Earth, our Earth, which has allowed certain building blocks in the universe, like oxygen and proteins, to come together and evolve into very complex biological tissues, matter, resulting in what we have become. So when you understand that, you will understand everything that is wrong with what we are doing today with the earth. We have no respect anymore. And it seems as if we are trying very hard, deliberately, to disturb that super fine-tuned balance that allowed us to manifest in the first place. Life started with single-cell organisms. If you go back far enough from your existence, far enough back, a couple of billion years into the history of the planet Earth, your life started with a single-cell organism that has, with time, evolved. And you remember from chapter 1 of the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, the ancient people realized that life evolved from the sea upon land. And it has evolved to the point that we as human beings have, in fact, developed consciousness. And it appears more and more there are animals on the same path of evolution. We find out more and more that there are animals that are much more intelligent than we thought before, because we do scientific tests with them to see how they act and react. And we find that certain birds, for example, are super smart, even able to create tools and use them. Octopuses are very smart and are capable of solving complex problems to just get to their food. We know that pigs are smarter than dogs, more sentient than dogs. And dolphins and whales have a sense of self. So we are not the only ones. We are lucky that we were there first, but there are other beings, creatures on their way to evolve into conscious beings also. Anyway, it's very interesting to simply contemplate on that and maybe help you to appreciate your own existence more. And the world around us, of course. Questions? No? Okay. Let's have a short break and then we start with asana.